Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, February 11th, 2024. 1. The Auditor General's report on...
Order. Take your seats. Order. Take your seats. Order. Order, members. Order. I will order that matter to be stayed. Let me hear Millie Odhiambo's point of order. Order. Millie Odhiambo, I'll hear your point of order. Order. I will hear Millie Odhiambo's point of order. 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 Honorable members, take your seat. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, honorable members.
Order. Member for Kilifi. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, take the floor. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order. Millie Odhiambo, take the floor. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order 19A and 20. Mr. Speaker.
Hold on, Millie. Honorable members, can we hear Millie Odhiambo? Order, Anjala. Order. 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 Honorable Gertrude Mbeyu and those who are conducting themselves like you. Honorable Mawade, the excitement does not preclude the application of standing orders. And if I see you getting rowdy again, I'll request you to leave the chamber. Millie Odhiambo. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand under Standing Order 19A and Standing Order 20. Mr. Speaker, and in furtherance of a recent decision by the High Court HTC number E202 of 2023, Kenneth Njagi Njiru and 11 others versus the National Assembly of Kenya and others. Mr. Speaker, I will not go to the demerits and merits of that matter. I will go to what the court concluded, which is that the AZIMIO side is the majority. And based on that, Mr. Speaker, again, because I've said I'm not going to the merits and demerits of that decision, Mr. Speaker, I want to just indicate that I have therefore, as the majority party whip of AZIMIO, today handed over to your office a copy of that decision of the High Court with a letter that we are giving you according to the standing orders, our majority leader as Honorable Junet Mohammed and Honorable Robert Mbui. Mr. Speaker, following the standing orders, Honorable Junet will thereafter then communicate to me officially as the minority whip going by what the standing orders, but yes, a majority whip. Majority. Mr. Speaker, I also stand under Standing Order 90 and had actually consulted you about this. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the judgment of that court, the court actually infer that because of the position you hold as Speaker and also as Chairman of your party, Mr. Speaker, it is not, as party leader of your party, Mr. Speaker, it is not possible for you, to be fair, you are going to be conflicted when you are conducting the matters of this House. Mr. Speaker, I therefore humbly request you to step down and mandate Honorable Gladys Beausoleil to take over in discharging the functions as the Speaker because of your conflict of interest. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, because I said I'm not going to go to the merits and demerits of the matter, in concluding, I want to urge that as a parliament, we need to obey court rulings and decisions, even when we don't agree with them. And Mr. Speaker, I also just want to indicate that you can see my two colleagues are standing next to me. My advice to them in future is to follow a philosophy from my community which says, Telo Ikao, Telo Kumingato. So next time they should do what Honorable Ruku did. Jump if you have to, but take your position the way Honorable Millie has done.
Is that part of your point of order?
No. Mr. Speaker, I said as an arbiter. And Mr. Speaker, I would also just want to say, very finally, also as an arbiter, Mr. Speaker, people are also talking about broad-based. Again, I'm very careful. I'm saying this as an arbiter. It's not my substantive argument. Mr. Speaker, people talk of broad-based. Yeah, and even when you look at the decisions of the arguments of the court, they keep making reference to the de jure and the de facto. And many things may have changed over time. And Mr. Speaker, I'd want to say that actually if you look at this side of the House today, we are seeing broad, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we want to see good faith, we want to see if it is also based. It is broad. But based, whether it is based will depend on the decision going forward. Otherwise, we will be told by the court it is hot hair, this broad base is hot hair, wild goose chase, and all those other things, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move.
Order, members. Order, members. Maintain your silence. Millie Odhiambo has raised 2 points. One I'll dispose of very quickly, and the other I will allow the House some latitude. As to whether the Speaker, yours truly, should preside over these proceedings or not, I'll dispose it of as follows. One, there's no motion before the House about the Speaker. Number two, I am a senior lawyer in this country, and I'm your senior Millie Odhiambo. I have read that judgment with a tooth comb, and there's nowhere it requires the Speaker to do what you are saying. More particularly, the final findings of that judgment, which as a distinguished learned friend, we had an opportunity to read through together today. That judgment does not cast aspersions on the Speaker presiding on such proceedings. Number three, in similar situations, in the 10th Parliament, a motion was brought to this House by the then member for Kibwezi, the Honorable Patrick Musimba, to discuss the conduct and the possible vacation of office by Speaker Muturi as he then was. Speaker Muturi presided over the debate and the vote was taken and the motion went the way it did. Number 4, in the 7th Parliament, when I was a fresher in this house, the Honorable James Orengo, or one of the then Ford Kenya members, brought a motion to discuss the conduct and character of the then Speaker, Francis Xavier Kausai Ole Kaparo. Kausai Ole Kaparo presided over the proceedings. The motion was debated and put to a vote, and it went the way it did. I'm sure you know that neither Muturi nor Kaparo left office on the basis of any motion. Number 4. Number 5. You as truly as your Speaker does not debate, does not vote. I hold a position of honor to preside over your proceedings. Anybody who wants to say anything about this judgment, I'll give you an opportunity. And it's finally going to be yours truly to give you a ruling on the matter. It must also be made very clear as we listen to each other that neither the court nor any authority outside this chamber, and senior lawyers like Otiendo Molo should know this, neither the court nor any other authority outside this chamber can make declarations that affect the conduct of business here except yourselves by voting and by the Speaker giving you rulings. Number 7. We sit here as a quasi-judicial body. And as a quasi-judicial body, I will listen to you, and I assure you, I'll give you a fair finding. It is like going to court and telling a judge that because the lawyer appearing before him was his classmate, he will not be fair. That has no foundation in law or in fact. So I'll open up and hear those who want to have similar points of order, as Millie Odhiambo has raised, on the judgment. And I want also to caution you members that your standing orders do not allow you to discuss the person or character of any judge unless you have brought a special motion to discuss that judge. You can analyze the judgment, you can agree with it, you can disagree with it, you can qualify it, you can do whatever you want. But don't disparage or discuss the character of any judge without a special motion as is provided for in our standing orders. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, that is my direction. Thank you. Yes, Wanjala. What's your point of order? Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the first clarification, which we have humbly understood and agreed with. But, Mr. Speaker, you have left out the second issue about the majority leader in the House.
Order, Angela. That is exactly the issue that Millie raised. That she has written to the Speaker. Yes, I've received the letter. I'll analyze it. I have given you an opportunity to speak to her point of order or any other point of order. Yes. Yes, Junaid Mohammed.
Mr. Speaker, first I want to say today that I am privileged to speak from the seat of the majority leader. Because, Mr. Speaker, even when I sat on the seat, it is very warm, Mr. Speaker, unlike mine, which was very cold, Mr. Speaker. I didn't know the seats of Parliament have different warmth, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I don't foresee myself leaving this seat anytime soon. I don't see myself leaving this one anytime. But having said, Mr. Speaker, as you are aware and as you have alluded to, Mr. Speaker, there is a court ruling. A ruling of court consisting of 3-judge bench, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a court ruling has only got 2 decisions, Mr. Speaker. There is no third way about it. One is to obey it, and secondly, if you have any avenue of appeal, you exercise that right of appeal, Mr. Speaker. There is no third way about it, Mr. Speaker. And the court ruling, what we went as AZIMIO after the election, after your decision here, Mr. Speaker, what took us to court was for the court to interpret for us the constitutionality of your decision on who is the majority party and who is the minority party in this House, Mr. Speaker. And the issue of the Speaker came in as obiter, Mr. Speaker. But what took us to court, we wanted to know, because when we arrived here after the election, we arrived here knowing very well that we are the majority party, Mr. Speaker. And we are the numbers. But midway, we ended up losing numbers through your ruling, Mr. Speaker. And that is what took us to court, to ascertain whether we are the majority and whether we are the minority. And luckily, the court has made its ruling, albeit late, Mr. Speaker. We expected this ruling much earlier than this time, Mr. Speaker. But it is better late than never. The decision arrived, and the decision has said that the AZIMIO party is the majority party in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And I so happen to be the minority leader as of now, Mr. Speaker. So today afternoon, I just switched seats and I took over the role of majority leader, Mr. Speaker. And I am capable of doing that work, Mr. Speaker. I have the capacity, I have the qualifications, I have the capabilities, I have the numbers in the House, Mr. Speaker, to lead, Mr. Speaker. I have everything what it takes, Mr. Speaker, to be the majority leader of this House, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the issue that we need to exercise, to analyze, Mr. Speaker, is that, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. Mr. Speaker, court rulings are very important, Mr. Speaker. You remember after the election, we disputed the result of the election. We ended up filing a court case in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court pronounced itself that we did not win the election, and the other party won the election, and we abided by it, and we respected the court ruling, Mr. Speaker. This court ruling also must be respected, Mr. Speaker. Because it's not like any other court ruling, Mr. Speaker. It's a ruling of the Court of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this ruling cannot be taken jokingly, Mr. Speaker. When I went through it last evening, Mr. Speaker, these judges are raising very serious fundamental issues. They are raising issues relating to violation of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And you remember we impeached someone here because he violated the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if this matter is not addressed, we are going to have a constitutional crisis in this country, Mr. Speaker. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, jurisdictions all over the world and democracies all over the world that we borrowed from, even this presidential system that we are running today, that is running in this country, Mr. Speaker. In the United States, there are times when the executive is from the Republican Party and the House is ruled by the Democratic Party, and life goes on. It doesn't matter that we are going to oppose everything that the government wants to do. If government brings here bills and policies that are of benefit to the country, we will support it, Mr. Speaker. And as you know now, many things have gone under the bridge. There is this animal called also broad-based, Mr. Speaker. We want to broaden, deepen, and tighten this relationship, Mr. Speaker. If I may borrow your words, we want to broaden it, deepen it, and tighten it, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have a country that is cohesive, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no way we are going to have this animal in place, and then when we want to become the majority, people look at us with suspicious eyes. How can it be, Mr. Speaker? Members of Parliament are members of Parliament. They work under the Article 95 of the Constitution, which has given them the roles of oversight, legislation, and representation, Mr. Speaker. We are not going to do our business outside Article 95, Mr. Speaker. So, I want to allay fears here that the majority in the House must be from the ruling party. That this ruling is giving us posterity. This is doing things for posterity, Mr. Speaker. Next election, or the other election in 2032, a government might come in place where the president garners the majority votes and is elected as the president, but he will not have numbers in parliament. His numbers might be few in parliament and it becomes a minority. So this is now the trend we are setting, that parliament is independent, judiciary is independent, executive is independent. We have no problem with the executive to do their work, and we know the President of the Republic of Kenya as of today is Honorable William Samoei Ruto, Mr. Speaker. There is no doubt about that. So there should be no ambiguity and doubt that the majority leader in the National Assembly is Honorable Juliet Mohammed, the Member of Parliament for Sunai, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. And I am going to serve the country diligently, Mr. Speaker, without any fear and favor, Mr. Speaker. I am a seasoned politician. I am serving my third term in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I know how Parliament operates. I know how Parliament does its work, and I understand how bills are done in this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I have gained enough experience. So this mindset,
wind up,
Mr. Speaker, this mindset that the ruling party must have majority in Parliament for them to do the executive work of the country, Mr. Speaker, that mindset must be gotten rid of, Mr. Speaker. We must emulate democracies that have matured over 200 years, Mr. Speaker. In the last election, in the last administration of Biden in America, Mr. Speaker,
wind up.
The Republican Party was controlling the House, Mr. Speaker, and the Democratic Party was controlling the Senate, and life was going on as usual, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, my advice to the House and to Parliament in general is that the only solution to this problem is to go to appeal. Until the appeal overturns this matter, I shall be recognized as the majority leader of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Those few remarks, I conclude.
Kainan, order, honorable members, before order Wanjala. Order. In all civilized parliaments, when you appreciate a point, you thumb your foot. You don't stand up and throw your hands in the air. Kainan, before you take the floor, let's have some ground rules. Everybody are given an opportunity to speak. Can we do 3 minutes? Yes. Is that good enough? Yes. Everybody are given an opportunity. We do 3 minutes. I want 3 minutes. Let's also observe decorum. 3 minutes. Honorable Robert Mbui and Honorable Mwenje. If it is making a point, you have made your point. It is beneath your dignity to continue standing there while the matters are going on. Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is luckily...
Order. Let's hear each other in silence.
Mr. Speaker, this
if
is...
If you really want to get a reasoned ruling from the Speaker, let's hear each other.